for joining us today, Deborah. You have the account called Wulf Women, and you're also an endo warrior. Would you like to explain what your account is for, what it does, and what your endo story was like?
Thank you for having me. I will start with my endometriosis journey, which kind of leads up into the genesis of Wulf Women. But I struggled for years with pelvic pain and a lot of other symptoms with my bowels and my bladder and things that our viewers will probably be familiar with. But no doctor could find what was wrong with me. My scans were clear, blood tests were clear, and they said I was fine. I ultimately had convinced my gynecologist to do a surgery because I said somebody needs to look in there and see what's going on, you know. But she found minimal abnormal tissue, didn't do a biopsy, and she said, "Oh, looks good, you're fine." Um, for the following 10 months, and keep in mind, I'd already been going for years to find answers, but almost another year passed, and I was really trying to convince my gynecologist that I really needed help and something was wrong. Um, I ended up taking the photos from that surgery to a specialist, Dr. Adam Duke in Post Falls, Idaho. Highly recommend. And he was able to look at the photos from my surgery and tell me right away, it's all over your bladder, it's all over your rectum, your appendix is destroyed, your uterus is destroyed with adenomyosis, your cervix. I mean, it was severe. So I had surgery with him and learned that every organ from my rectum up through my rib cage was fused together and damaged with endometriosis and scar tissue. And that was a life-changing moment for me. You know, all of those painful nights and pointless doctor's visits and that's what it was. And so I started this like video diary on TikTok. So I was just trying to honestly grapple with the damage that had occurred in my body and the horrendous surgery that was ahead of me at that point. So, you know, I'd have always wanted to just turn on my camera and start talking. I'm a performer. I sing and, you know, so I've always thought, God, it'd be cool to just do it online, you know. So I started talk, you know, 5 days till my surgery or 2 days after my surgery and just talking about what was going on. And I connected with so many women throughout the course of those first few months that had had almost the exact same story as me. And I started doing research on how often or how much the average gynecologist gets on training on endometriosis in medical school, which I found was minimal. Women are expected to see their gynecologist when they have pelvic pain, but this generation of gynecologists doesn't have the training and the experience in endometriosis to identify the disease. No hate on them. They're important parts of our care teams, but so I started to see it as a public health crisis. And if I had to spend 4 years learning how endometriosis impacts my body, how to navigate the world of finding care and recovering from surgery, then every other woman behind me is going to have to do the same thing. So I started kind of gearing it towards educational materials to try to make it a little bit more easy and efficient for women to get information. Here's everything that I learned. I put a website together. I've done, you know, all kinds of talks and things. I'm like, here, take everything I have. Hopefully this helps you to get by faster. Um, and it's kind of grown into a little bit of a movement. I'm about to hit 20,000 followers on TikTok, which I know isn't big time, but yeah, I'm kind of blown away at
Oh,
how
that's
big it's
amazing.
growing. Yeah, thanks.
It's incredible that you're helping so many people. I found with my own journey also that I learned more from other patients than I did from doctors. Like other women would share what their symptoms were and symptoms that I didn't know were endo related, I would learn from them. None of the doctors ever like taught me about what like I never learned from a doctor that gastro symptoms could be related to endo. I found
Mhm.
from a stranger at a store when I asked to use their washroom and then somehow me and the woman got to talking about endo. So like having groups like yours is or accounts like yours is so incredible because it helps to connect like all of us that are going through this so we can all learn from each other, and it's easy just to find all the information that you have in one spot so we don't have to go searching to try to find people out in the world like we used to without internet to try to find anyone that has the same illness or understands it.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the work that you were doing with Endo Canada. The support group you've built online is astronomical, and the work that your nonprofit is doing, on behalf of all of us other Endo warriors out there, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So I had a plethora of ultrasounds, transvaginal ultrasounds. Um, no one ever told me that an MRI was an option back in those days. No one told me that there were specialists for endometriosis, that there was a special ultrasound protocol. I had no idea. So they kept doing the same scan over and over and found nothing, essentially. I would get some pretty hunky ovarian cysts. They said that's normal, it'll go away, and they did. So then I had my first surgery in which I got the photos. And so by the time I got to my specialist, he was able to see enough to not need to give me an MRI.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really incredible that they're able to like see everything. So the person that did the surgery, was it just investigative, just to go in and see what they could find?
The first surgery with my gynecologist, yeah, it was, she said she would remove it. She said she does these surgeries all the time. Now, granted, it was hard to get her to approve this surgery or to get my insurance company really to approve my surgery. And so what they wanted was for me to go on birth control. And I said, well, I've been on birth control for 15 years and this all started when I stopped. So I think it would make me feel better, but I think there's something mechanical wrong that needs to be like actually identified and addressed. Um, so how I convinced her is I remembered seeing online that she's like very pro like sterilizing women if that's what they chose. So I said, "Excuse me, miss, like one sterilization, please," is what I said. And she was like, "Oh, great, yes, like the insurance company will accept this." So I had to go get sterilized in order to just get somebody to go take a look.
Oh,
I said, is it if it's bad, will you bring in someone who has like a ton of experience? Because I kind of heard about specialists online. She said, yep, we've got a specialist on staff. Um, and it was a 20-minute surgery. I should have known. At the end of the surgery, I was like, yeah, they found something. Like she burned it away, which you're not supposed to do in most cases. It should be cut. Um, so yes, it was exploratory. And I think that would have been fine. Like if I had advice for women out there who are thinking about getting a surgery but can't necessarily find or afford a specialist and they're really gung-ho that they're going to move forward with their gynecologist, what I would say is have them take a ton of pictures. And if you're comfortable with it, like you can ask them if you see it on my bladder or my bowels or some more severe places, like just take a photo, close me up, and we'll go to a specialist that has a bowel specialist on hand. That's an option that women with endometriosis can take when they can't necessarily get to a specialist right away, but are desperate, like I was, to have someone just go in and take a look.
oh, it's awful that we have to convince doctors that we need help, that we
Yeah.
can't just tell them what our symptoms are and share that we need help, that we have to like fight for it so much.
Mm, yeah, really is.
The symptoms that you were having, did they interfere with your personal life, with school or work?
Mm. Yes, but I was able to, it's funny, that analogy where there's like a frog boiling in water, and like if you drop a frog in boiling water, they're like, oh God, they'll just hop away, but if you slowly turn it up, then they'll just like kind of chill. It was kind of like that, where every year it got worse and worse, and I've always kind of been a mind over matter person, like so I kept working all the way up to my last surgery, but it was at a great cost physically and mentally for me. Going to the bathroom, extremely painful, whether it's number one or number two, sitting in the bathroom waiting for someone to leave so that my weird pee stream won't, be embarrassing or whatever. The sitting up, I have a desk job, which is nice, but sitting upright and the burning in my pelvis getting worse and worse and worse, just all of the general swell. I mean, I can't believe looking back how much pain I was in. And I was just like running meetings, like I had the conference room and I'm presenting and I was playing music shows. Like I had myself kind of convinced that everything was fine and I could just keep moving with my life. But once I had my second surgery, it was like my entire body went into this weird shock. I've never had anything like it happen. And I wasn't able to work for a good 3 months. And I wasn't able to work in the office for 6 months because I was so like anxious and sick. And it almost felt like all of those years of holding my pain in and pretending it wasn't there all came out in this like crazy 6 month period. And now I'm just kind of starting to get the life back into my eyes and have some more authentic enthusiasm at work.
Oh, well, you look amazing.
Thank you. My makeup.
So, did you create everything while you were recovering? Is that how it all got started?
Yeah, yeah. It started with just, video a day. I'd turn it on, talk about what was going on. And then as I felt a little better, I'd have like a little station in my bathroom. If you look at my early videos, you'll see me in my bathroom giving a lesson on how estrogen dominance can do X, Y, or Z. And then more and more people started watching. Started setting things up a little nicer. And yeah, through that time, I was just recovering from my surgery. I finally had the mental space to be able to just think, oh, if I would talk to people about this, what would I say? And I said a lot.
Oh, well, you're in the US and we're in Canada, so I know our healthcare is very different. But did you notice any gaps in like at the medical care? I know that it took you a long time to get diagnosed, and they were only seeing normal scans, which is pretty normal with a lot of patients. We're often told there's nothing wrong because their scans all look normal for years until things get worse, and then finally we see maybe another doctor that would understand. Or we get a lot of misdiagnosis, like such as IBS. Did you see any issues with your medical care there?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, the way that it's supposed to work, and I know it works this way a lot of places, but the primary doctor is supposed to kind of direct all of the different care, right? Report back to the primary, and they're supposed to be like the conductor of this orchestra. When it turns into a pelvic issue, that's supposed to be the gynecologist, right? And they say, oh, sorry, this is gynecology. So my gynecologist was kind of sitting at the center of this with some support from my primary. Both of them meant well. Um, there was no there was no referrals out to any other doctors or specialists, which if they would have just referred me to an endometriosis specialist the moment that we identified that endometriosis is the likely cause of this issue, I could have saved $10,000. I mean, years of suffering, not had an additional surgery damaging my body. It was crazy. And when I finally found my specialist, God bless Adam Duke, um, what I've learned and what many of us have learned the hard way is that endometriosis excision specialists can be life-saving, but they are surgeons. And to find a surgeon that actually like just takes over your entire care post-op, it's like you're finding a freaking unicorn. You're very lucky if you found that. Hold on to it. So I'm out of surgery, right? I've had like one or two follow-ups with him and his team, which have all gone fine, but I found myself, my nervous system was completely shot. I went and found an EMDR therapist to help me get my nervous system back to where it needs to be. A pelvic floor therapist to help with the muscular issues and to help restore the function of my bladder and my bowels, and hopefully one of these days, my sexual function. Bringing on a functional doctor, which I paid for out of pocket to run hormone tests to find that my ovaries are struggling a little bit. To look at my nutrition panels. I could go on, but like I have had to sit at the center of all of this and direct my entire care team to make sure that I get what I need.
Would you like to explain or help share with everyone how you took care of yourself during your flare-ups and what flare-ups were like for you?
Yes, yes. So flare-ups for me, most commonly, the most severe ones usually happened around ovulation. The week before and after I ovulated were generally the really painful, hot, burning, ovaries on fire, bladder on fire, etc. Um, so honestly, early in my journey, I didn't know what the heck to do. I had a heating pad. I was taking a like fat handful of supplements. I was taking a muscle relaxer. I said no to every other medication, but I did accept a muscle relaxer, which funny enough I found was making my constipation worse. Um, I did a lot. Luckily, I was in PT very early, pelvic floor therapy, highly recommend. And so they taught me a lot about 360 breathing exercises and stretching that I could do. So I did like stretch twice a day, tried to meditate, but that's kind of what I did in the early days. Recently, 6 months post-op, I was like, why the heck am I not better? My bladder hurts. I haven't pooped in 10 days. I'm bleeding out of my butthole. Like, is everything okay? Right? My face was blown up like a balloon with just like cysts all over my face. Like, I could go on and on, but like, I was not doing well 2 months ago. And I much better than before surgery, but I was still like, this can't be life. So I did a 30-day elimination diet. I've watched Sophie Richards on social for a long time. I liked how she did the AIP diet. So I eliminated like 10 or 7 things that I suspected might be triggers for me for 30 days. And by the end of the 30 days, I was like, I have never felt better in like the last 5 years. And so I've been able to identify that like there's like 3 or 4 kind of types of foods that irritate me, and I'm kind of learning like, oh, I avoid them during this time of month, or I take a DAO supplement to help me keep my histamine levels under control. I've got my stretching regimens, and I'm working on strengthening my lower abdominals to help with the back pain. And so little bit by little bit, I'm starting to put together a regimen that seems to be treating me very well. Look at this. I have zero cysts. I mean, I have acne, but zero active cysts right now. My
I don't
tummy's
see
not
any
flat.
acne either.
Yeah. Well, I do have like a filter on my Zoom, but so yeah, I've made a lot of progress. I still have a lot to learn, but it's been good.
Oh, that's amazing. A lot of people don't realize that you can get help from changing your diet or from like a pelvic physiotherapist. Often they'll
Hmm.
think that they just need surgery and that they should be all better after surgery. But
Yeah.
like having a complete package of maybe like a naturopath or dietitian, um, like a pelvic physiotherapist, which can do wonders, especially if you have the right person. They can really help you with learning to do exercises even at home that can help with it. Because a lot of the time, our muscles can be too tight from the pain, like as a mechanism of protecting ourselves when we're in that much pain. So
True.
going to physiotherapy, like even like maybe after surgery to help after you've recovered to help everything get like better altogether with your diet, like it's amazing how much of a difference. They did a study, and certain foods, they found that if you eliminate them, like such as dairy or gluten, that
Mhm.
like maybe like 50 to 70% of people found an improvement in their symptoms, but not
Mhm.
everyone, of course. So it's whatever works for you. The elimination diet is great if anyone wanted to try. I'll put into details attached with this what that is and how people can do it if they'd like to do it also. Is there any advice you think that you'd like to share that could help anyone with endometriosis? Anything that maybe helped you other than food, which I know was like a great thing?
Yeah. Early in my endometriosis journey, I would hear things like, try cutting dairy, or try doing yoga, or try deep breathing. And I wanted to punch those people in their faces. Um, Now, as the years have gone on, I've realized that for many, excision surgery with a specialist can be a transformative part of your journey. But like learning to live with endometriosis is like 1,000 cuts, right? The surgery, finding the diet, finding the supplements, getting stress under control, yoga, whatever all those things are. But with a holistic approach and with a lot of work, there is a better life ahead for those with endometriosis. It might not be perfect. You might not be cured. We'll always probably live with these diseases, but life can be worth living if you go through some hard steps first.
Yeah. Um, a lot of people, when they have surgery, like you said, you don't just need surgery. Excision surgery is amazing and transformative, but including all this afterwards in your journey, because endo is a lifelong disease that you could have symptoms like forever, like even after menopause, even though a lot of people do have improvement with menopause, but it is still possible to have it afterwards also. So
Mhm.
it's just great learning from someone like you, because I know I felt the same too when I first was really sick with the frozen pelvis, and someone's like, well, if you only worked out maybe you'd feel better, or if you changed your food and ate this instead. And I was like, there's no way food could make this pain better, but there's so many things together to help, and it's really important that we do that and take it into our own hands instead of just waiting for the doctor to tell us everything, because their job, if they're an excision specialist, is to do that, but they often like aren't aware of everything else, or like who you should see, or the dietitians, or the pelvic physios, and you just have to find all that on your own. So it's really great to learn from people like you that have had to go through all this, so that we can prepare for people that maybe aren't aware of what they should do and are just looking into seeing a specialist or seeing surgery, that it's helpful to have all of this.
Good. I'm so glad to be able to help.
And you've been a huge inspiration doing all of this work you're doing while recovering from surgery. That's incredible, because a lot of time most of us are just binge watching Netflix movies or TV shows and just recovering in bed. Meanwhile, you're online, like creating a huge community so that other people can learn from your experiences. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's honestly how I deal. I'm pretty type A, so when I can't deal with it, then I find a way to busy myself, and I'm glad I did in this case.
Is there any last words you would like to say about your group, or information on it, on how anyone could find it?
My page is called Wulf Women, WULF Women, like plural. And it can be found on Instagram or TikTok. And I also have a website called wolfwomen.com. And there's a lot of resources for ways to find surgeons throughout the United States, at least. Tips on what to do if you think you might have endometriosis, doctor checklist. There's all kinds of things there. So if you're feeling lost, it might be a place to go in addition to Endo Canada's support group.
So thank you. And I saw one of your videos was reshared, or it was made into a reaction video by Dr. Brighton. So like that was amazing to see too. How was that for you to see online when that happened?
Oh my God. I was on Facebook and I don't have any content on Facebook yet, like Wolf Women content. And I'm scrolling and I'm like, that's me. And I'm like, they're talking about me. And it made my day because it's just, I don't know, 6 months ago, I was like lying in a hotel bed, or not a hotel, I was lying in a bed, like fighting for my life, like, hey, I'm feeling okay today. And now I'm like getting millions of views and I'm on Facebook and I'm talking to Endo Canada and I testified for the state Senate to improve care. And I'm like, I was just trying to survive a few months ago. And it's just really exciting. Like I feel like my life has been changed in a lot of ways.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you're doing better and that everything's been improving since you made all these changes and had your surgery. So I hope it just keeps improving and just keeps on getting better.
Me too. Thank you so much.